Tervitus.
Hello, everybody. So let's be punctual. Let's begin. Welcome to our information day, where we will make some plans and give meaning to the new Estonian Defense Industry Park. And today we have a number of speakers so that you would receive an overview of what and why. And we will also speak about the investment environment. We will also be speaking about the terms and conditions of the selective tender and also licensing process. So first we will listen to the presenters and then everybody will be able to ask their questions. So we have set aside the last block for Q&A. Take some notes so that you remember to ask your question at the end. So just logistically, it's the best because we also have an online web stream going on. So to have logical sequence online, then we will first listen to the presenters and then we have the Q&A session. And we will be using two working languages today. If you would like to listen to interpretation into Estonian or English, then you can get a headset. I actually don't have anything to add on organizational matters. Of course, you can go and get some water. If you get very, very hungry, then go and get some snacks as well. So just feel comfortable. And at the back, there's also some water in the hall for the participants, and at the front, some water for the speakers. But let's get started. So first, we'll be speaking about the Estonian Defense Industry Park idea and objective. I'd like to pass the floor now to Indrek Sirp. Good morning, everybody. I'm happy to see so many familiar faces and also new faces. We had a consultation on this topic at the end of last year, and about 20 undertakings participated. The process has been ongoing for a while now, and I'm happy to see the people we have met before and also brand new participants. The process that started in 2023 has reached an important milestone, and I am happy to show the specific plot of land that we are offering for the operations and to speak more about the terms and conditions of the selective tender. This is a political priority for the government, not only for the current government, but also the previous one. Why so? Because currently in Estonia, we have a very strong defense industry. But when it comes to ammunition and munitions manufacturing, then there's very little of it. And we are purchasing now and in the future a big volume of munitions. We're investing a lot of money into it. So when we speak about ammunition industry, then we're strong in demand, and we see that our position could be strong in supply as well. The goal of the Defense Industry Park is to establish the physical environment where it's possible to manufacture. We have also made some regulatory amendments to make this environment more favorable. We have financial solutions, capital, access, but currently today we're speaking about the physical environment where you can manufacture the munitions, and this is most valuable to the companies who want to be involved in the explosives industry. So everything related to explosives. So weapons industry and other defense industry areas are not foreseen so much. So that is why we're located far away from settlements. So the operations would not disturb the local people. And so you can manufacture explosives there, use it as a component in munitions shells, in mines, in whatever is reasonable to manufacture. And private companies can manufacture munitions but successfully, but the state is developing also a project for military explosives. And this is a strategic capacity that establishes a good foundation for munitions production in Estonia, and this the state does in cooperation with private investor. And this process is ongoing in parallel to the selective tender process for the industrial park. So this is a public-private partnership. We are convinced that whatever manufacturing we speak about, then private companies are very efficient in general, are able to find the niche, find the best product selection, can supply it, sell it, market it. And the companies who will work in the industrial park will also think of the Estonian defense, but the production should have export capacity. So we have a high demand nationally, but in the end, the annual turnover might not be sufficient so that all of the undertakings would be profitable. And we are in cooperation, so the state will establish the base infrastructure. We are investing 50 million euros. This is a budgeted plan. This sum might even increase, but currently that is the estimation. And then we are also offering the land that is developed to companies on the basis of a long-term contract for 70 years, around 70 years, to give investment stability so that the companies know that they can use the land long-term when they make the investment. We had 5 areas, potential sites under consideration, 2 in eastern part of Estonia, northeastern Estonia more specifically, and 3 areas in western Estonia. And we have selected, after thorough analysis and different considerations, area site number 1, which is the primary site, which is here in western Estonia, Pärnu area. We will develop the site and the tender will be directed there. If there is a need for more production area, then we have a second site as well, which is in Lüganuse in Kiviõli. And we're working towards making sure that this site by the end of August this year, we'll have the national designated special plan, and then construction can begin. So this is the timeline. You will hear more about it in a following presentation, but the project timeline is that some activities are in parallel. The upper timeline is about planning, finding the site, and establishing the base infrastructure. So currently the site has been selected, or the sites have been selected, and we're continuing with the process, but it will be established by the end of August. Then the second process that is running in parallel is the selective tender, and we are in the initial stage of the selective tender. Today is the information day, and hopefully we will have completed the process by the end of August as well, and then we'll have the contracts so that the companies can start using the land. And the third timeline at the bottom, so many have started the preparatory process already, probably some have recently entered the process, but preparations must be done. Assessment of the materials that we assess during the selective tender, they must be put together thoroughly. And when we have selected the companies who will work there, the process will continue to get the construction permits and activity license, etc. So 2026 is for construction. And hopefully we can, we're pretty sure we can start building some base infrastructure at the end of this year, but most of it will be done in 2026. And we would expect the companies to start construction in 2026 as well. And if everything goes according to plan, then the faster ones can start up production by the end of 2026. So I'll stay till the end today, and you can ask me questions later. And an organizational matter, all the slides that we display today will be sent to you later on your email. You can access them. And the slides are also in English. So I see people are listening to the interpretation, so probably would like to see the material in English. So just as we speak, the English language handouts of the presentation are being printed, so I can bring them to you so you have an easier time following. And as to questions, I'd just like to mention that you can ask questions orally today, but also in Slido environment. So everybody who is with us online, you can submit questions on Slido, and I will ask these questions later on. But now we will continue with the next speaker.
First, thank you so much for the Minister of Defense and the Center for Defense Investments for including us and keeping us posted. My name is Robert. I'm from Invest Estonia. I'm the Director of Investor Relations, and I will just give you a brief overview of investment mechanisms. And why a brief one? Because Enterprise Estonia has several services and mechanisms, and I would like to say at the beginning, if you feel that you want to consult, discuss, then please do contact us. Both Estonian companies and foreign companies are welcome. If the role of our team is more to support foreign investors who are in a slightly more complicated situation because they don't know the market that well, then we will definitely match you with the right people who from the Estonian side. So today I will give you a brief overview of 3 mechanisms that could be suitable. But I would like to remind you again that if you have any questions, any ideas, then I'm here today, not quite till the evening, but you're welcome to contact me, and you can also email me. First is the Defense Investment Fund. And it's a historical fund managed by SmartCap by the state. It includes 100 million euros for investment. And important thing about that is that it's first and foremost on the startup for the startup sector, and the investment opportunities are between 5 and 10 million. The fund itself was live from this year, and if you have any questions, then the people to the SmartCap experts are in our offices as well, so we can match you with them. And the other is the European Defense Industry Program, EDIP. And Indrek Sirp knows way more about this. So Indrek is the point of contact for this, but it's important to remember that if you have any questions regarding that, then a state is a very important partner there to get to this. Indrek probably agrees that there's a lot to be, or some to be explained yet, but we'll definitely give you all the information. And the third and the most reachable option is the large-scale investment grant. None of the big investments are easy. Therefore, the state has a measure for export-focused investments where they could get up to 15% or maximum value of 20 million euros reimbursement as cash back. So when you do the investment, you can get your money back. Also includes some requirements. First of them is that the investment would include at least 30 jobs, which is obviously understandable, and it would be focused on export. And there's another specific detail that if the investment is made in the Tallinn rounds, then the cashback is up to 10%. If it's a regional one, it's 15%. And because the area is in the region anyway, then the percent is 15 anyway. Some info on the dates. The measure came live in the beginning of March. The first e-consultations have already taken place. However, consulting or pre-consulting is mandatory for this measure to save the company's time. Otherwise, you will form a big application, and there's a small nuance that will stop you getting further. So therefore, consultation is mandatory, and the deadline for that is the 11th of July. I'm the responsible person for that. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you scan the QR code, they will take you directly to our webpage where you get an overview of this measure as well. But if you have any other questions, then I am the contact person. This is my email address. And especially regarding the last mechanism, that's where my expertise lays. So as just to sum up, if you are a foreign company, then our role is to be your partner, to find you the relevant contacts in Estonia, and to organize the meetings with Estonian partners, and to help you with all communication. So please do contact us. And if you're an Estonian company looking for foreign partners, again, we are the right place. You can come to us. We can discuss and see whether we know someone who would be a good fit for you. So thank you from me. And now let's talk about export control. We have Argo Kangro here from the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Hello from me. I'm representing, first and foremost, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, but I'm actually also representing an intra-organizational organization, which is the Strategic Goods Commission, which includes the representatives of 6 different institutions. But my brief overview today will cover this, that when you have received all your building permits and other licenses, and if you are mostly focused on export, then you also need to apply for an export license from our commission, and a goods export license. And as this is a defense industry park, then the classification codes isn't too complicated because the end use is military use. So first and most likely the incoming and outgoing goods need a permit or a license, but then you would also need to oversee the specific categories. But whether this component or the product that you use requires a license or not, then you can ask our commission to get more detailed information, or can you do your homework yourself and look into the list of military goods, which is common for the European Union, but each member state has the right to add special conditions, but up to 90% the lists are the same. And this is mostly to do, it's a very technical, specific field, so it starts with ML1, with small caliber arms and technology and hardware. And the focus of today is mostly on category ML3 ammunition. And this category also includes lots of chemical formulas, and whether the formulas that can, and the formulas enabling to categorize the chemicals. But it obviously covers goods that perhaps don't need a permit or a license. So you need to discuss and consult us first. This is what I recommend to do. But when we talk about export, then key point here is whether these goods are going to the European Union or to third countries within the European Union to do with the import and export of components. This is a simplified procedure, So the applying for the license is also slightly easier. And I think that a lot of people here are familiar with this online environment. If you need to do a specific application online, you need to go to Stratlink. You will find all this information on the ministry's website as well, but the information is more for foreign companies present here today. If you are doing this for the first time, to be authenticated, you need to have an Estonian ID card or a smart ID. And briefly about the procedural process. All the relevant documents have been listed, but an important document that we do require is the end-user certificate. And the average proceeding time is up to 30 working days. So please bear this in mind so you wouldn't leave the application to the last minute. And this is where I would like to wrap up. I am ready to take your questions.
Hello from me as well. I know many of you already, and if we haven't met, then my name is Katri Raudsepp. And I'm the Deputy Director of the ECDI, so I will provide an overview of the terms and conditions and the timeline, and I'm not alone here today. So in addition to the previous speakers, there's a number of experts who are here with me from the Investment Center, Defense Investment Center, and from the Defense Forces, and also from the Law Office Vallas. So be active, and I'll provide my slides to you and speak about them quite quickly. We also have the Consumer Protection and Technical Regulatory Authority representative here, so we have lots of experts in the room. I'm sure that you have worked through the selective tender information, and I'm sure you have lots of questions, so let's take advantage of this opportunity and go through all of the subjects. I'm not going to speak at length about the sites because Indrek already covered it. The preferred site is in Pärnu County in Ermistu village, and the area all allocated is close to 200 hectares. And the land will be made available through a superficies license, building rights for up to 70 years. The exact size of the plot allocated to each company will be determined as a result of selection tender process. So a lot of emphasis will be put on negotiation so that we understand what are your exact needs, what can we offer, and how it all fits together. So that is the stage where we designate the specific land area allocated. And this is also a map of the area and the initial plot division plan. So this is only initial. This will not be final. We can adapt and adjust based on the need for land. Some of the boxes here are in gray, so this is like a river, or we will establish our base infrastructure there. So not all of the areas will be distributed. And a bit about additional land area. So in the selection tender, there is the option that we can give into usage additional land, primarily in cases when the Pärnu site is so popular. But we see that there's more business plans with high potential, so we can allocate additional land. And as a disclaimer, we have not taken on the obligation to start establishing base infrastructure on the additional plot, but we will not exclude establishing additional infrastructure. And since I'm speaking about the base infrastructure, then this is the next point. Indrek in the introduction already mentioned that the state has decided to establish base infrastructure here. The exact volume of it, composition, need will be specified during the process. Again, negotiations are very important here, so we understand who are the interested parties and what are the exact needs. But potentially, we are speaking about, of course, access, connections, roads within the territory, but also storage facilities and testing ground. And this list might be lengthened. Some things might be left out. And the terms for using the infrastructure will be specified in the infrastructure service agreement. Now, speaking about the fees. The fees are divided into three larger categories. First and foremost, the building right usage fee. And with assessors, we have identified the sum. It's 2,862 euros per hectare per year. And this might change based on consumer price index. And the base infrastructure usage fee, and here by base infrastructure, I mean the specific physical structures or installations that we give into usage. And this is not connections or electrical connections or guarding installations, but testing ground, storage facilities, the things that we're giving into use. This is what it refers to. And the third category is made up by regular administration and ancillary costs. The park will be initially managed by the Defense Investment Center, where we provide the guarding service, maintenance, and utilities services that are shared. Timeline. You read the terms and conditions, so you are aware of the deadlines. Applications submission by 15th of May, initial offers a month later, 15th of June, and then we will start with the negotiations. Currently, we assess that we will ask for final offers in mid-August, and we hope that we will be able to confirm the selection tender results in early September. And here, a timeline and overview of the type of contracts that we foresee. First of all, the building right agreement based on law of obligations, infrastructure service agreement, and the superficies contract based on real right. And by that time, you must already have obtained the necessary licenses, but Lauri will tell you more about this straight after me. And when we speak about permits and licenses, then I forgot to mention that at the base infrastructure point, that we established the base infrastructure, but the production-specific structures and installations, and also preparation of the plot given into usage, this must be organized and managed by the companies. The general design terms and conditions will be provided. I just remembered that I have to explain abbreviations, but so I'll say it in hindsight that I say REP, but what I mean is the National Designated Spatial Plan, and the more specific terms and conditions will come from the Consumer Protection and Technical Regulatory Authority. And information exchange environment. So keep an eye on our webpage. We'll put up the questions and answers, and all the information, notices and inquiries can go through the email address that you also see on the slide here that has been mentioned. And you can always visit the site. Access to the site is public. So we are not going to organize a joint visit. At any point in time, you can go and walk around. It's a beautiful nature area. And the coordinates are also specified. And a bit about protection of business secret confidentiality. So all information provided by the companies is treated confidentially. But if you would like to sign an NDA with us, then submit your applications and we will conclude an NDA with you. And in the selection tender, we also have established a guarantee, which is 7,000 euros. It will be deducted from the usage fee in case of winners. And if you are not selected or you decide to withdraw your application, it will be paid back. Now, the requirements to the companies. So this is where I want to speak a bit more. So most of the requirements are set out in the Weapons Act, and these are preconditions for the activity license. But we have received a number of questions about when this business entity must be established, and I see that you're going to nod at the right time. So you must have established the company whom we're going to conclude the contract with by the time the contract based on law of obligations is concluded. So if you've not established the company in Estonia, then you have to do it by that deadline. But by the time the application is submitted, we must know the description of which entity you're going to use. By the initial proposals, the corporate and organizational structure must be known to us. And when it comes to final offers, then we need the description of how this company is going to be established. And this is binding. So when you establish the company and the organizational structure will be different, then we can disregard the offer. Object of production, I'm not going to speak about that because Indrek actually went into the details already. The first stage is submission of applications. We expect them by 15th of May, and submission of applications is a prerequisite for submitting the offer. And so submitting of applications is prerequisite for submitting an offer. So the company you're going to use for the project should be used, and confirmations in the terms and conditions, you can reread them, but so it can't be bankrupt or have tax debts or punished pursuant to criminal procedure. So you don't have to submit evidence. And so free-form description of the project is something important. We have not provided the specific structure, more than an ESA, but it must tell us what you're going to produce, how you're going to produce it. What do you think will be the size of land you will need? And as a remark, the terms and conditions of the selective tender will be changed regarding this. When you read it now, then it seems that it's 6.2 hectares, but we're going to change it. So it's a free choice how much land you want, but at least 2 hectares. We are not going to have plots smaller than 2 hectares. But if you need more, then it's up to you how much you need. And then the drawings of the production facilities, the volume of and description of munitions. So this is because we want to have an inkling of who will be providing what kinds of products, so that we can start preparing the negotiations. And we have an estimation of the danger zones that we also need to have in the layout. And also main characteristics. So the product volumes and explosives, we presume that throughout the tender process, you will stand by your initial estimations. Now, the next stage is initial offers, which we expect by the 15th of June. Here, the most important is the draft action plan for the first 7 years. So basically, a quite detailed business plan. And from then on, the most important thing, we will start with negotiations in order to understand I presume that when you are submitting the initial offers, then maybe you're not too clear, and we are not too clear on the danger areas and munitions and how the infrastructure plays into it. So the negotiations is the stage where you understand in greater detail what we are offering and we understand what you need. The negotiations will be conducted individually. They are confidential. If necessary, we will hold more than 1 or 2 rounds until we get to a point where we've covered all the conditions in the negotiation. So when you make the final offer, then we can place you on the map. And for the final offer, we know what kind of infrastructure offer we can make. And then the evaluation. In the selective tender terms and conditions, we have provided initial assessment criteria and their proportions. During the process, we might amend them depending on the specific activities and who the tenderers are. But we assess the business plan, the volume of the investment. We might assess the turnover and also the defense force's potential need for the product. In the evaluation process, we may put together categories of your offers. First and foremost, in cases where we have applications for 100 hectares, like 3 offers for 100 hectares. So in that category, we can run our evaluation. Or if it's the same product that is offered by several companies, so we might put together a separate category for them. But we will let you know about this when we send you the offer to make an offer. So then we will send you the specific evaluation criteria and also what we offer on the side of the state. I think that is all from me, and later we will answer your questions as well.
Hello from me. My name is Lauri Kütt. I'm from the Consumer Protection and Technical Regulatory Authority, head of the technical department. And I will give you a brief general overview how we have the licensing processes and what licenses you would need. But let's start with the main 3 licenses. First, the company needs an activity license pursuant to the Weapons Act, paragraph 8333. It lists 6 different categories dependent on what the company plans to do, whether they plan to manufacture any ammunition. Then they would need to pick the right category when applying for activity license, but if it's weapons, then the objects of control are basically the same. You just need to add it to the application, and that it's handling of weapons or transport of weapons, the activity license would cover that. The second thing you'd need to look into is the responsible person and the competence of the responsible person. So they would be perhaps a compliance officer or a safety advisor, so the person who will be responsible for the safe handling of ammunition in the company or the weapons handling. And their competence must be verified. So if we talk about ammunition or components containing explosive substances, then the competence of the responsible person have to be based on the Ammunition Act. I will cover this in more detail later on, but if the company only handles certain competences, if it doesn't exclude explosive substances, then there are other requirements. And the third is the operating permit for the handling site. That they would need to have a handling permit, which is then the third permit you would need. You would also need a building permit and a usage permit or notice, as it's based on a designated spatial plan. Then the building permit processes are a little more simplified because all the licensing goes through the Consumer Protection Authority, which is quicker than going through local governments. And in more detail, regarding the activity license, this can be done through the Military Weapons Commission, which is established under the Police and Border Guard and includes representatives from also from the police and the Rescue Board and Estonian Defence Forum. You have digitally prepared applications. You just need to fill in the blanks. You need to add some documents. And in order to get into the MTR, Register of Economic Activities portal, you need to have a power of attorney for the specified persons to get access, but everything to do with that is linked to the MTR. And you need to pay a state fee for that, which is 1,570 euros. For the review of the application. And the conditions, it seems that there's quite a few. They're not too complicated. There are general requirements for company. Their financial status must be adequate. One is the share capital requirement. I would also like to emphasize that the control object needs to be performed throughout the application procedure. So the share capital amount needs to be 25,000 euros throughout the operating of the company, because if one of these conditions is not matched, then you need to start making sure that you're compliant. It doesn't mean that it's automatically invalid, but then you will receive a notice to repair the mistakes. The undertaking share capital has been paid. Then there's management board has requirements that they would have a clean record. They wouldn't be a threat to security. And also the responsible person, they'd need to be to have the competences here highlighted in point 6. You need to have background checks for all the employees, and to the more significant subcontractors who have access to the company's territory or have access to significant information that could affect the undertaking's activities. The company itself cannot provide security services except for when applying for activity license specified in clause 3. And also, then it's also the Police and Border Guard and the Defense Ministry's assessment to the undertaking. It's also important to see that the company that's about to be established, that the persons related would be Estonian or in the EAA or a NATO member country, from a NATO member country. Few words about the responsible person. You may appoint a responsible person who would be compliant with the following conditions: is a citizen of Estonia, a member state of the European Union or NATO, has a permanent workplace in Estonia, which means at least 186 days per year they should be they should reside in Estonia, and obviously, this is kind of natural that the person will only be operating this if they're in Estonia. And they would need to have a professional competence or certificate of competence, which the process takes place through the Police and Border Guard Board. You need to do explosive, you need to be in the field of explosive for a year. They need to be specially trained, so they would be responsible for the safety requirements. And if the company, in addition to ammunition, also handle weapons, then you need also have verification in accordance with the Weapons Act. So it doesn't need to be the same person. You can have two separate persons for weapons and the other for the ammunitions, especially if it's a larger company that would need more people than one. And also about the operation authorization, the subject of review of operation authorization. So it includes few details that need further extension. When you start to planning this manufacturing unit, then you should look into the conditions. And even in the kind of building project, we plan the object pursuant to your own company's activities, in which building has which activities, which ammunitions, the safety area. So all this needs to be in the building project. You need to have the amounts, the safety zones, and all the conditions are from the Weapons Act Regulation 11. And that comes from the Ammunition Act. Requirements for explosives manufacturing facilities. I would also add that both regulations that I'm referring to are currently being updated. So over the last years, when this field has become more active, several issues have been highlighted, and in the coming months, I think these problems will be solved and we'll have new versions of these regulations, and certain conditions will be amended, either specified or made more understandable, and slightly mitigated as well, so they wouldn't be as restrictive. But in generally, you need to make sure it's safe. Limited access, security systems, and all the risks must be assessed so that the company's own risk mitigation plans and the construction itself must be suitable for the activity. So if there are various, depending on the risk class and the substances and in which form you handle it, then dependent on that, you need to have the detailed plan for the building, and the company must assess that themselves pursuant to their specific activities, whether it's gunpowder or other explosive substances. So obviously the requirements differ, but that's where we expect the company to show their own competence to define how they secure the safety, and the member of the commission that are from the Defense Board, the Police and Border Guard Board, the Rescue Board, and then they will also see whether these conditions have all been met. But because I didn't have much time, then I would stop here. If you have questions, I'm more than happy to comment. So thank you from me. Thank you. And thank you to all our presenters. I think now perhaps it's the best moment to get your questions, because we've reached a Q&A round. And I would like to remind you of the same email address that Katri mentioned, where you have already used to register for today's event. That is also the email address where you can send your running questions, specifications. This is an email address where you can always send your bids to, both the initial and the final ones. And all questions, even the ones proposed here today that we'll try and answer, they will also be added to the Center for Defense Investments website, to the Defense Industry Park site. So we will try and keep you in the same information space the whole time so that you can start preparing. I will ask the first question, that's from the Slido environment. I would just like to remind you, as Katri said, we have various experts here from the Defense League, from the Defense Investment Center. We have specialists on financial instruments. So please take this opportunity and ask. And this is the first Slido question. And what is the state's strategic vision on Defense Industry Park? Is this a fund supported and renting out the state land, or do you offer security of supply type transactions? This was expected. The answer is we automatically don't provide that. However, we do not exclude that, or exclude this type of solutions. And why I say that is we want this process to be with private and public interest, and the cooperation between the state and security, that we would have this common base. We understand the companies want to sell to domestic customers. How we will be solving this, I think, will be case-based. It depends on the products and the producers and our needs at that time, and perhaps other circumstances. So automatically to all companies who come to the Defense Industry Park will not be provided with this opportunity, but I can imagine that it could be something that will be discussed throughout the negotiations. And another question from Slido, and then we'll have the microphone. And again, if you want to ask from the audience, then please, we'll give you the microphone. Then the interpreters and people online can hear the questions as well. So please, one more question, or perhaps someone else wants to add, but ensuring the investment, will that be just the company's cost, or whether the state will be able to cover something? For example, during a military attack, an investment is destroyed. Is the state willing to compensate part of the investment? The answer is similar to the last question. I think that in a military situation or in a war situation, and when the strategic manufacturing, not specifically to do with ammunitions, but some other manufacturing that are important to the state to ensure the capabilities to carry on manufacturing, then I think the state is also interested in finding solutions how to keep these going. But today, in our legal space, we do not have an automated solution to provide something like that. this supply security is an important topic. We have talked with the Association of Estonian Insurers, and I believe that it's very important that if when you submit your applications, you also highlight your expectations on this, so we could provide solutions. Today, we do not have specific solutions, but I think the state, in essence, is interested in strategic manufacturing capabilities would be usable at any given time. Thank you. Let's have a question from the audience. Perhaps, I'm sure you have some. We will get the microphone over to you in a minute. And you can also say whom you want to ask this question from. My name is Sten Kabronsky. I'm not really sure whom to ask this from. It's to do with the activity license. When should we have acquired that? Whether when we start applying or when we will start bidding? Perhaps this would be a question to Mr. Kütt or Lauri or Katri or our legal assistances. I will answer this and then let's see, perhaps. My name is Merit Lind-Sõganov, and I'm the partner from Law Office Wallace, and our team helped the state to prepare for this selective tender. And the answer to a question to at which point you must apply for an activity license is that if a law obligations spatial plan, detail plan has been submitted, then the process will begin. The activity license process will begin then. And the second question is, how have you planned the logistic transportation services will within the country and cross-border transportation for export? How have you how solved this? So who could answer that? Indrek? I think this will be solved as every company is doing it today with their logistic even then, if you have ammunition or explosive substances, we didn't really cover this specifically, but if you have any specific questions regarding that, we can answer that. But we don't have any state transportation that we take your ammunition as the state from the factory to a port or a train stop somewhere. This is not something we plan to do something. This is the company's own responsibility, or they will buy in the services of having it transported from point A to point B. Do we have any other questions from the audience? Would you like to add something? We have a question. My name is Jens Haug. I have a question. For a company who enters into that agreement, will they have to do anything with the local government other than waste management issues? I would like to say no. We'll definitely have certain aspects that we haven't thought of yet, but as I said, in the general planning is stipulated in the designated spatial plan, and the specific from Consumer Protection Technical Regulatory Authority, and also from the forestry felling. I would like to add that we do work with the local government. How one or the other company communicates with them, we don't specifically know, but the Center for Defense Investment must work with the local government, also with the local communities. So there is cooperation, but what, for example, in a testing stage, when you can test so that we wouldn't disturb or would disturb the locals the least. And I think in questions like that, the cooperation is relevant, but whether we need any other licenses to be preceded by the local government, no, it doesn't seem like that. But we can't exclude that. So the answer is not as of today. Another question from Slido, just about the ammunition storage, is that the Center for Defense Investment to build and not for the company, and will these include within the given size, or would it be the additional land? This will all be specified during negotiations, but the plan at the moment is that the Center for Defense Investment will be responsible for building the storage. It makes sense to have it in one area, not that every manufacturer will have these the safety areas themselves. So yes, Center for Defense Investments will build them and will issue the usage of these. Any other questions from the audience? There's the competence exam that was mentioned before. The competency exam, will you be having this in the English language as well? Based on the information we have now is that it'll be in Estonian, but they reply, you can use an interpreter. So yes, is the answer.
And another question. Kadri Pedas, Dutch Embassy. So legal person, does it mean legal person registered in Estonia is eligible for application, or the registration location? I think it was broader, but the management must be located in Estonia. But Merit, you might want to specify that. Yes, let me specify. In order to submit the application in the selective tender process, you don't have to be established in Estonia. You can be a legal entity established in any country and you submit the application. What we saw on the slides, this is about activity license. This starts after the law of obligations contract has been established, and then a legal body is established that seeks the activity license. Specification. It stated that the background research that starts after law of obligations relationship is established, or was it a stage in the earlier phase? Now, the idea is that in the framework of the selective tender, the ECDI is not taking over the competence of the issuer of the activity license. So the thorough assessment will be done by competent authorities during activity licensing. But in the selective tender, we at ECDI have provided certain provisions that sort of prepare for it, that we more or less know what this group of entities will be like, how reliable we find them, how probable is it that they will get the activity license. So in some sense, there's no point in entering into contracts knowing that these legal entities would never get activity licenses. I'd like to remind you that you can ask questions from us at any time. You can send your inquiries on the webpage using the email specified, and we will publish the answers on our webpage as well. Any more questions from the audience here? I will check Slido. There is a specific question. What is the electricity capacity insured to the company in Pärnu County? In the additional plot, are there electrical connections? Do we know the answer, or is it something that we need to specify? I'll pass the microphone to you. So in general, currently, in this forest in Pärnu County, there is no connection. But by then, we will establish a connection. When it comes to capacities, we have spoken about planned capacity, which up to 4 megawatts for the total area, the total site, but I think it will be specified, and it depends on what kind of production we'll have there and how much electrical capacity they need. It can differ greatly. So this is something that we will specify during the process. Hello? I don't have much to add, but in the initial plan, that it's 2.5 to 3 megawatts, the transmissibility. So initially, they should be sufficient. This probably can be increased later when the general situation in the national network improves. And we have another question on Slido. I'll try to pronounce it in English. This is for Indrek and Katrin, I think.
Where startups with novel technologies have displaced legacy systems. Does your plan prioritize incubating startups to develop new products that align with current needs and leverage emerging technologies?
So this was the question about emerging technologies, but you can respond in Estonian as we have interpretation. So if the question is whether we as the state are building a plant that startups can use, then currently we don't have such a plan. I think that this is another thing that could be resolved in such a way that the companies who start producing munitions in the park can offer their capacity also to companies who themselves don't want to be munition producers. They don't want to deal with explosives, but they are involved in drones and they want a component. So this can be resolved in business-to-business interaction. If it turns out that there is great interest by the startup community for novel solutions that include explosive components or whatever, then we need to come back to this topic and see how we can resolve it. Do we help facilitate agreements with the existing explosive manufacturers in the park, or the state of Estonia needs to create some incubator? Right now, I can't give a final answer. I think the understanding that new technologies need sort of this fruit, very fertile ground. This is something we understand. And when we have traditional companies already, then we look at what they can provide to smaller companies who have more specific developments and products. And another question from me about the ancillary services, like electricity. In the park, there will be companies on the external perimeter. So currently, what is the vision about securing the external perimeter? Is it included in the services you're providing? Is it business to business? Security. What does the state provide? What are the obligations for the businesses? Do they have to consult and get confirmation for cooperation with the other businesses from the state? Or is it completely business to business? So what is the concept regarding securing the perimeter? The concept is that the external perimeter and securing it is the service that ECDI provides when it comes to sort of internal fencing. Then it's about the company decision. Tambet, would you like to specify this? Pass the microphone, please. When the company wants to bring somebody else in Do they need prior notification to ECDI? Is there a security checking priorly, or when people are brought in, drivers, experts, and the external perimeter is secured by ECDI, then the security service provider must pre-screen them. Yes, probably you need to give prior notification. It's not the same as entering the territory of the defense forces, because it's not going to be the territory of defense forces, but some security rules will be applied. And this is also something that will be specified during negotiations, what they will be exactly. But yes, prior notification obligation is something that we're going to have. I'm quite certain of that. If we don't have any other questions currently, and I see that there's nothing on Slido, then I think we can conclude the information day. We can sum it up. So ECDI at archic.ee is where you can ask for additional information. Let's keep in touch and let's make Estonia stronger. And I wish you a wonderful holiday weekend. Thank you for coming.